Hi, welcome to the class today. Thanks for joining us. So remember, with all the exercises, we'll go through different levels when we go through each exercise. It's just really important that you go to what suits you. And most importantly, we want you to enjoy the class. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to bring our toes apart and those heels apart. So those feet are that hip width distance. Just to begin with, we're going to transfer that weight coming onto the fronts of your toes and then back onto your heels. So just forwards and back from here, nice and slowly, keeping that control. And then just looking to find that midpoint between those two movements so that weight's going nice and evenly through your feet. Make sure your knees are nice and soft, so not locked back from here. Hands up onto your pelvis, and then very gently we're just going to tilt the pelvis forwards and then tucking it back. So just a gentle movement forwards and back from here, tilting that pelvis, dropping forwards, tucking back. And again, we're looking to find that midpoint between those two movements like we normally do, to find that neutral spine position. So that pelvis is in that neutral spine. That core is gently engaged, those ribs are soft, those shoulder blades are dropped down, those collarbones are wide, and that neck is nice and long and lifted. Good. So we're just going to begin by raising our hands up above our head and then back down. So we're going to come up into that sort of I shape, raising those arms and then lower. Now watching for as you raise the arms, don't let those ribs flare, keeping that control as you're raising up and lowering. Now this time we're going to raise our arms up and out in a Y shape and then back down. Good. Up and out into that Y and then down. Now if you can, we're going to add in our heel raises. So as we come up, we're going to come up onto those toes and then back down. And again, as you raise the hands up onto those toes and then back down. And again, watching that those ribs don't flare as you raise up. So lifting up through, lengthening away and down. Last couple. Keeping that control and down. Okay, let's do one more time. Raising those hands, opening out and then back down and relax those arms. Very good. Now we'll stick with our feet and put our hands onto our hips and we're going to come up onto those heels and lower. So we're lifting onto those toes, raising those heels up and then down. Good. Now let's see if we can go a little bit quicker. So we're raising up, lifting up. Good. Just increasing the speed. Well done. Keep going here, lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Good. And let's slow it down again. So lift and let's slowly lower. Good. And again, lift and slowly lower. So really working into these calves. Well done. Lifting and slowly lowering. And again, lift and slowly lower. And again. And down. Let's do one more. And slowly lower. Very good. Okay, now we're going to bring those legs a little bit wider. So we're going to bring those toes and those heels apart again. So sort of a double hip width. Just bring those toes out slightly, so that's sort of 45-degree angle. And we're going to drop down from here into that little squat movement. So just dropping down. I'm going to raise my right hand up towards the ceiling. I'm going to reach over and feeling that stretch through that side. Coming back over. Opposite arm lifted, reach over. Stretching that arm back. And then come back up into that standing position. Good. And again, so dropping down into that squat. Raise that right hand back up to the ceiling. Reach over to stretch. Coming back. Opposite arm raised, reach over to stretch. Coming back. And then lift back up to standing. Very good. And again, drop down into that squat. Reach that right hand up, reach over, stretch that side. Coming back. Opposite arm lifted, reach over and stretch. Back and lift up. Good. Now this time we're going to drop down into that squat. And we're going to hold this here, just feeling that through those thighs. Really sit back so that bottom is back as if you're sitting back onto a chair. And then back up. Good. And again, drop down, sticking that bottom back. Hold it a few seconds and then lift back up. Good. Now this time we're going to drop down, hold that here, and we're going to see if we can do 5 pulses. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and push back up. Oh, very good. Feeling those thighs working. One more time. So we're going to drop down, sticking that bottom back, and do 5 pulses. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll reach up from here. Very good. Okay, so we're going to turn around. I'm going to come side on to you so you can see a bit better. I'm going to bring one foot in front, opposite is behind. We're going to come into a lunge movement from here. So I'm going to drop down and then come back up. Good, so my feet are fairly wide. I'm dropping down and lifting up. And again, drop down and lift up. So really controlling that lowering and pushing up. My neck, my body's staying nice and tall. My head is long. Good. Let's do 8 more here. So we go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, good, 3, 2, and 1, and lift up. Very good. And we're going to switch sides, so opposite leg in front, the other leg behind, into that sort of lunge position. And then we're going to drop down from here and then lift up. So keep that control, dropping that knee down to the ground. Doesn't need to touch the ground, it's just going in that direction. Dropping down, lifting up. My body's staying nice and tall, so I'm lifting and lowering. So let's do 8 more. 7, good. 6, 5, well done. 4, 3, very good. 2, and 1, and push back up into standing. Very good. And we'll come back to that side position. So feet back to that hip width distance apart. We're just going to reach our right hand up to the ceiling. Bring that left hand down by your side and just stretch again, opening out into that side a little bit more and reaching over. So really stretching through our sides today. Reach that opposite arm up, stretch that hand down your leg and then back up. Good. As we reach that hand up to the ceiling again, I want you to look at that hand now, so you're rotating through that neck and then dropping down that hand down by your side, coming back and then lowering. Opposite arm, lifted to the ceiling, look up with your head again, reach that hand down, back and then lower. Good, one more time each side, reaching that hand up, look up to that hand, reach down, come back up and lower. And again, opposite hand lifted, look up, drop down, back, and then lowering. Lovely, and just relax those shoulders. Good. Okay, so we're going to do a few roll downs from here. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, tuck that chin down, rolling those hands slowly down towards the floor. Take a breath in at the end here. Then as you breathe out, slowly peeling gently back up into a standing position. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, rolling those hands slowly down towards the floor. Take a breath at the end here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back up. So really curling through that upper back. If I stand side onto you, take a breath in. As you breathe out, tuck that chin down, curl through that back, really peeling through that spine. Don't stick your bottom out, you're rolling through that spine as you're lowering down towards the floor. Breath at the end here. As you breathe out, peeling slowly back up into standing. Good. Let's do that one more time. Breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, rolling those hands slowly down towards the floor. Take a breath at the end there. As you breathe out again, slowly peel back up into that standing position and relax those arms back down. Fantastic, well done. Hope you're feeling a little bit more warmed up. So we're going to carry on our class and come down onto our backs, onto the mat. Okay, so now we're down onto our mats. We're going to bring our toes and our heels apart. So we're at that hip width distance, and then we're just going to start by, just like we're doing standing, tilting that pelvis back and then dropping it forward. Looking to find that neutral spine position. So that point between those two movements, that midpoint. That core is gently engaged from here. Those ribs are nice and soft, so relax down. Those collarbones are wide, those shoulders drop down. That neck is nice and long and lifted. That chin just tucked in slightly. If you normally use a thinner block, you can pop it under your head. but otherwise just have what's comfortable. I'm just going to keep my head on the mat today. All right, so we're going to do a double leg stretch now. We did this the other day in our class. We're going to float our arms up towards the ceiling. From here, we're going to raise our hands above our head, coming round in that D shape, and then coming back to that start position. Good, and again, we're going to raise our hands above the head, coming around in that D shape, and then back to that start. Now, as you raise your arms above your head, you make sure you don't let your ribs flare. You're trying to keep that control, maintain that neutral spine position as you bring the arms above your head and then come back round. So we're opening out through that chest, coming round and then back up. Now, if that's feeling comfortable here, we can add in our leg movement. So we can bring one leg up into tabletop, reach the leg away, come back into tabletop and then lower down. Opposite leg into tabletop, reach away. That movement goes as one and then lower down. As you're reaching the leg away, make sure you're still not losing that neutral spine position. You're not letting the back arch or your ribs flare as you're adding in those movements with the arms and the legs. Now, if that's feeling comfortable here, we can bring both legs up into double tabletop and then reaching arm and legs away. So reaching away as you're coming back up. Still making sure that those ribs aren't flaring. I'm not losing that control. And I'm maintaining that neutral spine position. Good. And again, reaching the leg away, coming back around and back up. And again, reach the leg away, coming round and back up. So keep that control as I reach that leg. Make sure my ribs aren't flaring. That movement through those arms is all as one with the legs. Very good. Making sure those ribs aren't flaring. Well done. As you're coming around. Good. Let's do a few more here. So just keep that control as you're coming around and then back up. Good. Smooth movement all the way through. Still watching that those ribs don't flare as you raise those arms above your head. Good, well done. Last few, reaching away and then back up. Good. Lovely, and again, reaching away and then back up. Good. Okay, let's do one more each side. Well done. Reach the arms away. Now the opposite leg. And then back to that start, and then we're going to lower those legs back down and then float the hands back down from there. Very good. Okay, so we're going to work our obliques a little bit from here. So we're going to put our hands behind our head today. And then we're just going to start by lifting up into a diagonal. So you're going to lift to that opposite knee and then back down. And then we go the opposite side, so alternate sides, we're lifting and then lowering. So we're going in that diagonal. So I'm raising my shoulder blade up to that opposite hip and then lowering back down. Good, and again, so I'm raising opposite shoulder to hip. Good, so I'm really crisscrossing, we call it, in that diagonal. So you're just coming across and then back down. Good. Now if that's feeling comfortable here, we can raise both legs up into double tabletop. Maintain that double tabletop while we're still crisscrossing each side. So crossing, lifting the opposite shoulder blade. Good, so you're just really feeling like you're crossing that diagonal line. Well done. So we're going to keep going here. Breathe out as you're lifting up and lowering. Opposite side as you're reaching and lowering. Good. Reaching and lowering. Well done. Very good. And lowering. Good. So just crisscrossing from here. Good. Let's do 8 more. So we're going to go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Well done. Keep going if you can. 3, 2, and last one, 1, very good. Lowering that head back down, well done, and lower those legs one at a time, back down to that start, very good. Okay, so those feet and knees still that hip width distance apart again. If you need to, just tilt that pelvis forwards and back, so we're starting in that nice neutral position. Those arms relax down by your side. We're going to go up into a bridge together. So if you have got a blocker under your head, you can just pop it to the side for this exercise. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to tilt that pelvis back, squeeze those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in the top here. As you breathe out, we're peeling that back slowly back down to that start position. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that pelvis under, using those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in the top here. Then as you breathe out, just slowly peeling back down, back to that start position. Very good. So just repeat this in your own time, really using those bottom muscles to help lift you up into that bridge. Keep those bottom muscles engaged as you slowly lower back down, back to that start position. Good. Now, if you want to make it a little bit harder, we've done Pilates before, then we can just raise one heel and the opposite heel. If that's okay, you could raise a foot and the opposite foot and lower back down. If that's comfortable there, again on that lift as you come up, you can stretch a leg. Make sure as you're stretching that leg, we're keeping that pelvis nice and level. We're not letting it drop as we lengthen the leg away. Good. And again, tilting that pelvis back, lifting up. If that's comfortable there, we can stretch the leg, raise, back down and lower. Same on the opposite side. Now you don't have to do any of these movements every time. You can mix and match when you want to do them. And just pick what's comfortable for you. So I'm going to do a few more here. Just going at your level. Try some of those add-ons if you want to. If it starts to feel too much, just come back down with those feet on the floor, okay? Good. And then lowering slowly down. Good, so make sure you breathe in to prepare. On that out breath, use those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Take a breath in the top here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down. Coming back to that start. Good, and again, breath in. As you breathe out, use those bottom muscles, lifting up into that bridge. Press at the top here. And as you breathe out, slowly peeling down again, back to that start position. Good, we'll just do last few here. Keeping that control, lifting up. And then slowly lowering back down. Well done. So a few more. Remember, if you want to add any of those add-ons in, you can do a heel raise, a foot lift, a leg stretch if you want to, or a stretch and a lift. Okay. So just pick whatever's comfortable for you at your level. Just do a few more. Use those bottom muscles to help you lift you up into that bridge. Keep those bottom muscles engaged to help lower you back to the ground as well. Good. A few more here. Coming up, using that bottom, well done. And then slowly lowering back down. Good, let's do one last one. Tucking that pelvis under, using those bottom muscles, coming up into that bridge. Pressing the top here. As you breathe out, slowly peeling back down to that start position. Well done. Let's bring those knees in one at a time and have a stretch out here. So have a nice hug with those knees to your chest. So just take a few nice deep breaths in and out here. On that out breath, if you can, sink down into that stretch a little bit further if you can. Just really sinking into that stretch and flexing through that lower back. So just breathing in and out here. And on that out breath, if you can, just sinking down a little bit further into that stretch. Good. And again, on that out breath, just sinking a little bit further if you can. Good. One more time. And then sinking a little bit further. Well done. And then just lowering those legs back down, back to that start position. Okay, so we're going to do a hip twist movement from here. So that core's engaged still, feet at that hip width distance apart. I'm just going to start by letting one leg fall out to the side, just as far as you've got that control, and then use those toe muscles to bring the knee back to the middle. Then we do the same on the opposite side, so letting the knee fall out to the side, use those toe muscles, bring the knee back up to the middle, and again we alternate sides. So make sure you don't let those hip bones rotate or roll, keeping those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. Imagine you've got those two lasers pointing upwards. If you're starting to feel your lasers are shooting off in different directions, then try not to bring that leg too far, okay? It might be that you're just dropping that knee over a little bit too far, then you can keep the control. Now if that feels comfortable here, we can bring one leg into single tabletop, bring the leg out to the side, coming back up, and then lowering. Opposite leg lifted, bring the leg out to the side, coming back up, and then lowering. So alternating sides here, still keeping that control, those hip bones pointing up to the ceiling, not letting them roll or rotate, keep that control. Now if that's comfortable here, we can bring both legs up into double tabletop, and then bring one leg out to the side, and then the opposite leg. So again, still alternating sides, hip bones still pointing up to the ceiling, after dropping the knee over, and then coming back. Good. So we're just repeating this here, nice and controlled. Upper body should be nice and relaxed, ribs soft, no tension there. And we're just alternating sides, opening out through those hips. My leg is moving as one, but again, if you feel your whole pelvis rotating or tilting, you're just probably going too far. So just try to shorten that movement a little bit with that leg. Well done. Make sure you're not holding your breath, breathing out as you move your leg out to the side if you can, but most importantly, just don't hold your breath there. Good. Okay, let's do one more each side. And then bring the legs back to that start, and then we'll lower them back down one at a time. Very good. Okay, so we're going to work these hips a little bit more and go into a one-leg circle. So we're going to bring one leg up into tabletop. From here, either keeping that knee bent, imagine you've got a pencil on the end of that knee, and we're circling around, coming around in that circle, drawing a circle on the ceiling with that knee. Now the movement is coming from my hip. I'm controlling that circle through from my hip. If that's comfortable here, we can straighten the leg and come round in a circle, and now I'm drawing that circle with my toes, but keeping that control as I'm coming around from here. Now the size of your circle might depend on how much control you have, so you might be able to widen the circle a little bit, but again I'm still staying nice and stable through my pelvis. So if you're feeling very wobbly through that pelvis, you might need to just make that circle a little bit smaller. So you've got those two options, either with the legs straight or keeping that tabletop position and circling around. But remember, that movement should be coming from that hip. Good. Now breathing in and out here, not holding your breath as you're circling that leg around. Good, now let's change direction. Still working through those hips, well done. Really working those hips as we're coming around in that circle, well done. Few more here. Controlling that movement, circling around. Very good. That opposite leg should be staying nice and steady, not moving in sympathy. Well done. So keep that control. Few more circles here. And let's do one last one. And then bring that leg back to that centre. And then lower back down. Well done. Okay, so we're going to do the same on the opposite side. So opposite leg either into that tabletop position. Imagine you've got that pencil on the end of your knee. And we're going to come round in that circle from here. Controlling that movement. Nice and slowly, nice and steady from that hip. And either staying here with that knee bent, or if you want to, we can straighten that leg. Coming around in that circle. Keeping that control from here. Again, that movement is coming from that hip. If you start to feel your whole pelvis is wobbly, then just reduce the size of that circle slightly. Just keeping that control as you're coming around in that circle. Good. Breathing in and out still. Make sure you're not holding your breath. No tension through that upper body. Try and make sure it's still a circle, so if it's gone a bit square, just see if you can keep that circle shape going from here. Good. Okay, now let's see if we can change direction, that opposite way, circling around. Well done. From here. Very good. So remember, you can always bend that knee, make that a little bit easier if you need to, if your leg is straight. So keep that control, coming around from that hip, last few. Good, and one more circle. And then coming back to that centre, lower that leg back down. Well done. Okay, so we're going to give our hips even more of a workout and do our scissors movement now. So keeping that pelvis in a nice neutral position still, that core is gently engaged. We're going to bring one leg back up into tabletop. Now keeping this knee at that 90-degree angle, we're going to tap the foot down, come back up and then lower. So opposite leg up into tabletop, tap down, back up and lower. So we're alternating sides, tap the foot down, back up and lower. Keeping going here as you come up, tap down, back up and lower. Controlling that movement, tap down, back up and lower. Each side. Now make sure as you're tapping that foot down, you're maintaining that neutral spine position. So as you lower the leg, you're not letting that back arch. We're still maintaining that neutral spine as I tap my foot down and back up, okay? Good. Now if that's feeling comfortable here, we can make it a little bit harder and bring both legs up into double tabletop. Again, keeping that neutral spine position, we're tapping the foot down and alternating sides. So keeping that control as you're tapping each side from here. Good. Now, as you tap the foot down, make sure the knee doesn't bend. The body often wants to help a little bit and cheat by bending that knee. So make sure we're keeping that 90-degree angle as we're tapping the foot down each side. Good. So keep going here. If it starts to feel too much with those legs in double tabletop, then you can just come down. So you've got one leg back to this single tabletop option. Okay, so remember, you don't have to stay at one level. It's not all or nothing. You can pick what's comfortable for you. Now, if that's okay and you're in double tabletop, we can make this a little bit harder and do our reciprocal movement and make it a little bit faster. So we're going to go tap, 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 tap. So keeping that control, make sure you're maintaining that neutral spine position. Don't brace through your tummy. Again, if you're finding that your tummy's doming, come down, okay? You're trying to keep that tummy flat as you're tapping each side, alternating those legs, okay? Good. So tap, tap, tap from here. Very good. Keeping that control as you're alternating sides. Well done. Breathing in and out. Make sure you're not holding your breath as you're alternating the sides from here. Very good. I'm going to do a few more. Keep going if you can, but remember, just come down those levels if you need to. Just make sure you're not bracing or feeling that back and you're arching. If you are, then do come down because you're just not using the same muscles anymore. Good, well done. Very good. Let's do the last few. Let's do one more each side and then bring those legs in. Well done. And bring those knees in and have a hug. Very good. Well done. Let's hug those knees in towards our chest. Breathe in and out here and just have a nice little stretch. We just have a couple of nice breaths here. On that out breath, if you can, just sink down into that stretch a little bit further if you can. And just opening out through there. Well done. And then lower those legs back down one at a time. Okay, so let's really open out through our hips. And we're going to do our opposite arm, opposite leg movement. Okay, so this time, unlike when we started and we moved those movements together, this time we're really lengthening through our body. So we're going to lengthen one leg either along the floor. If you can, we can hover it above the floor. With the opposite arm, we're going to lengthen through and then bring those leg and arm back together. And then again, opposite arm, opposite leg, lengthening through and then back. So we're just going to start with this lengthening. Really feel that nice stretch through the front of those hips that we've worked here and then back up. Make sure as you're lengthening through, again, we're not letting that rib flare. We're still keeping that control as I lengthen that opposite arm, opposite leg. So you shouldn't feel that upper back lift as we're lengthening opposite arm, opposite leg. Okay, we'll keep that control each side as we're lengthening away here. Good. So stretching and lengthening through the fronts of those hips as well. So we've worked really hard. So just lengthen through and back. Ribs staying soft, not lifting. And I'm keeping that neutral spine position. of my pelvis. Well done. Now if you want to, either just stay here if you're enjoying this lengthening out stretch. We can just stay here with this movement. If you want to challenge it a little bit more, we can bring both legs up into double tabletop and then lengthen opposite arm, opposite leg from here, if you want to, okay? So it's up to you. Just pick what feels comfortable for you with that opposite arm, opposite leg movement. Good. So lengthening away each side. Very good. All the time, keeping that control and maintaining that neutral spine position. Don't let those ribs flare. Your upper back shouldn't lift as you're raising the arms above your head. We're keeping that control each side from here. Very good. So we're just going to do a few more. So either we can stay in this double tabletop, or you can just bring those legs back down and just continue that lengthening movement. It's up to you if it feels more comfortable. But we're just controlling each side from here. Well done. Good, we'll just do last few. Excellent. Okay, let's do one last one each side. Well done. Going back to that start and then lowering those legs back down. Well done. Okay, so let's stretch our backs into that rotation movement now. So arms down by your side or out to the side of you. We're going to drop the knees over to one side. Turn your head to the opposite side if you can. And then use those toe muscles to bring the knees back to the middle. And then over to the opposite side. So we're just rotating side to side from here, dropping the knees over, turning your head to the opposite side if you can, using those toe muscles to bring the knees back to the middle, and then over to that opposite side again, turning that head, just really stretching through that neck as well, coming back up, and then over to that opposite side. Good, use those toe muscles again, bring those knees back up, and then over to that opposite side. Good, so just repeating this here, nice and slowly in your own time. Really just enjoying that stretch, opening out through that lower back, using those toe muscles to bring the knees back to the middle, and then over to that opposite side. Good, and again from here, dropping those knees over, using those toe muscles, coming back up, and then over to that opposite side. Very good. Last few here. Let's just do one last one each side. Drop those knees over. Use those toe muscles, bring the knees back up, and then over to that opposite side. Good, and then we're going to come back up to that mid position and bring those arms back down by your side. Very good. Okay, so we're going to carry on now and come round onto our sides. So if you've got a thicker block, we can just use that now just to support our heads. Otherwise, if you've got a pillow, you can pop it there now, or just use your head, your arm to support you. Okay, so in this position, we're going to start with our sidekick movement, so our move of the month. So keeping those hips really stacked on top of each other, that core gently engaged from here, we're going to bring our leg, this top leg, up to a hip height position. Now, all through this movement, we're trying to maintain that hip height with that top leg. So to begin with, we're going to just slide this leg forwards and then gliding it back. So it's just a nice smooth glide movement forwards and gliding back, keeping that leg in that hip height position. Now, as we've done all through this month so far, and we're continuing to work on, if that's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, we can straighten that top leg, still keeping that leg at that hip height, and then glide the leg forwards and glide the leg back. So if the leg is straight, we can point the toes to glide forward, flex the foot to glide back. Point the toes to glide forward and flex the foot to glide back. So keeping that control through that pelvis as you're gliding forwards and gliding back. It's not necessarily about how far you're moving your leg, it's about keeping that control around that pelvis, and we're really working these glutes to maintain that leg at that hip height. Good. So if that's comfortable, you've been working on this month, we can straighten this leg, this lower leg, and again, keeping that straight, again, we glide the top leg forwards and then gliding it back. It's a little bit more challenging to control while we're moving our leg freely. Keep that control. So you may want that hand in front for a little bit of balance from here if you need to. So we're just gliding forwards and gliding back. Now if that's feeling comfortable, we can raise the lower leg to join it, keep that lower leg lifted, and then we're gliding forwards and gliding back again. So again, it's a nice controlled movement as we glide forward and back. So keep that control, gliding forwards, and if you've lifted your lower leg, we maintain that lower leg lifted. Good. Now if you're feeling comfortable here, we can then slide our upper body into that C shape and glide forwards and glide back here. So just pick what's comfortable for you, either starting with that knee bent, straighten that top leg and the lower leg bent, both legs straight and the lower lifted. Okay, so just pick what's comfortable for you, breathing in and out as we're gliding the leg forwards and back. Well done, we'll just do a few more here, but keep that leg at that hip height. If it's getting closer to the ground, lift it back up, reset that movement and start again. It's probably just tiring, you might need to come down a level or just have a rest. Good, so we'll glide forwards, glide back. If that leg's straight, point the toes forward, glide, flex the foot to glide back. Well done. Really feeling that in that side here, working through those glutes, working really hard to maintain it from there. Good, well done. Gliding forwards, gliding back. Let's do last couple and one more. Glide forwards, glide back, and then lower the legs down if they're both lifted. Bend those legs up, well done. Come back down, and rest that leg. Give that muscle a little rub there, well done. Okay, so this time we're going to straighten both legs out. So both legs are straightened out together. That core's still engaged, those hips are still stacked on top of each other. And we're going to lift the top leg just to that hip height again and then lower back down. So you may want your hand there just to see how high that leg is lifting and then lower. So we're lifting that top leg just to that hip height and then lowering back down. And again, top leg lifted just to that hip height and then lower. Now if that's feeling comfortable, then we can lift that top leg just to that hip height again, bring the lower leg to join it and then lower down together. You may want that hand in front for a little bit of balance, but try not to brace through your hand, okay? Because otherwise you're really putting the tension through those shoulders. So it's just there for a little bit of support. So just have your fingertips touching, just often helps to stop you pushing through that arm. If you don't need your hand there, you can just pop it on your hips, lifting, and then we lower down together. Good. So our top leg's lifted, lower leg lifted, and lower down together. So keeping going here, if it starts to feel too much, you can just lift that top leg and lower it from there. So pick what's comfortable for you, and we're lifting and lowering. Good. So top leg lifted, lower leg to join, lower down together. And again, top leg lifted, lower leg to join, lower down together. Well done, we'll just do a few more here. Keep that control, that core's engaged, helping to support you as you're lifting and lowering. Well done. And lowering down, well done. And again, lifting and lowering. Very good, last few. Well done. And let's do one more here. And lower down together, well done. Bend those knees up, give that muscle a rub from there, and that top leg a rest. Well done. Okay, so we've worked those glutes really hard, and also that core to control that movement while we've been moving in those positions on our side. Great, so we're going to do the same again on the other side to even ourselves out. So if you come round onto that opposite side, if you're using that block, you can just bring it with us to support our head on this side. So we're coming down from here. Okay, so we're just popping that block to support my head. So as we did before, my hips are stacked on top of each other. And I'm going to lift this top leg up to that hip height position. So I'm just sliding this leg forwards and sliding back into our sidekick movement. So our move of the month, like we did on the opposite side. So as you glide the leg forwards, I'm keeping it at that hip height as I'm gliding forwards and back from here. So keeping that control, it's not necessarily how far you're moving your leg, remember, it's about maintaining that control around the pelvis. And my glutes are working really hard to keep my leg at this hip height level. Good. Now if that's comfortable, as we did before, we can straighten the leg and glide it forwards and glide it back. If that leg is straight, we point the toes to glide forward, flex the foot to glide back. And point the toes to glide forward, flex the foot to glide back. Keeping that control, that core gently engaged as you're gliding that leg forwards and back. Make sure you're maintaining that leg at that hip height as you're sliding the leg forwards and back from here. Good. And again, sliding forwards and sliding back. Well done. And again, slide forwards and slide back. So just keeping that control from there. Now, if that's comfortable, as we did before, we can straighten the lower leg. Still gliding forwards, gliding back. You might find that leg doesn't go quite so far if you straighten that lower leg. And you can have this hand in front for a little bit of balance if you need to, as you're just gliding that leg forwards and gliding back. So if you want to make it a little bit harder still, that's feeling okay, we can bring that lower leg to join that top leg, keep it lifted, and slide that leg forwards, sliding back. So again, maintaining that hip height position of that top leg, and that lower leg stays lifted. Now, as we did before, if that's okay, we can just drop that block, slide up onto that elbow so into that C shape of our other body, both legs lifted, and then we glide that top leg forwards and back. So toes coming forwards, flex the foot to glide back. Point the toes to glide forwards, flex the foot to glide back. So just pick what's comfortable for you, either starting with that knee bent, keeping that leg at that hip height, top leg straight, lower leg bent, both legs straight, or as this, we've got both legs lifted, either down on the mat or lifted into the C shape. So just pick what's comfortable for you. We're going to keep practicing this month. Hopefully it's starting to find it a little bit easier, but we're really working those glutes hard, keeping that hip height level. Good, so really working that hard here, gliding forwards, gliding back. Well done. Last few. Keeping that control as you're gliding forwards and back. Well done, making sure that leg's at hip height, that core's engaged. Well done. Last few. Very good. And let's do one more here. Glide forwards, glide back. Back to that start, lower back down. Well done. Bend those knees up. Very good. And give that muscle a little rub. Well done. Okay, so as we did before, we're going to straighten both legs out. And just to begin with, we're going to raise that top leg just to hip height and then back down. So top leg lifted just to that hip height and then back down. So keeping those hips stacked as you lift and then lower back down. So really lifting and lowering from here. Top leg lifted, lower back down. So keeping those hips stacked as you lift and lower from here. Trying to keep that control. It's not a big lift, we're just going to that hip height. So if we can, we're going to add in that lower leg lift if you can. So you may want that hand in front for a little bit of balance. We're going to lift the top leg, bring the lower leg to join, then lower down together. Top leg lifted, lower leg to join, lower down together. Keeping that control as you're lifting and lowering from here. Try not to brace through that hand, just have your fingertips there if you need it. If you don't need it, just put your hands onto your hip. But just make sure you're not pushing through that arm too much, so you're not making any pressure through your shoulder, okay? So top leg lifted just to that hip height. If you're lifting that leg any higher than hip height, you're probably making it really hard for yourself. So you're trying to then lift that lower leg even higher to join it. So just bring that top leg lifted to hip height, lower leg to join, lower down together. And again, top leg lifted, lower leg to join, lower down together. So keep that control as you're lifting and lowering. Very good. A few more here. Just keeping that core engaged, helping with that lifting, lowering, that leg just to that hip height. Well done. Very good. Lifting and lowering. Keep going here, last few. Well done. Let's do one last one, very good. And then lower those legs back down, well done. And bend that knee back up and give that muscle a rub. We've worked those glutes really hard, both sides now. Very good. Okay, so we'll just drop that block down and we're going to come up into sitting to cool down a little bit from here. So in this seated position, let's just start just rolling our spines down a little bit. So we're just going to tuck that chin down, and I just want you to roll that chin down towards your chest and just flex through that spine, and then slowly lifting back up nice and tall. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, rolling down, chin to chest, rolling down. And on that out breath again, peeling back up, coming nice and tall. Good. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, tucking that chin down, just curling that upper body, that upper back down, arching that spine, and then slowly coming back up. Good. And we're just going to rotate now to stretch and cool down. We're going to bring our hands up to that shoulder height, and we're going to do a spine twist. So we're going to take a breath in. As we breathe out, rotating that body round to one side. Breath in here. As you breathe out, rotating round to the middle. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, rotating round. Breath in. As you breathe out, coming back to that start. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, rotating that body round. Breath in again. As you breathe out, coming back to that start. And again, rotating around. And on the out breath, back to that center. Good. And again from here, breath in. As you breathe out, rotating around. Breath in here. As you breathe out, coming back to that center. And again, breath in. As you breathe out, rotating around. Breath in again here. And on that out breath, back to that center. Very good. We're going to do one last one each side. Breath in. As you breathe out, rotating around. On that out breath, back to that center. And again, last time, turning around. And then back to that center. Good. And just relax those arms and relax those shoulders. Very good. Okay, so we're just going to reach one hand down onto the mat from here. And I want you to bring the opposite arm up, and we're going to reach over and stretch out through that side we've worked today. And then we're going to lift back up and reach over, opposite arm, reaching over and stretching through that side. And lift up. Good. And again, reach that arm down, reach the opposite arm over, stretching through those sides. My hips are staying down. And then come back up. Then over to the opposite side, reaching over. And back up. Lovely. Let's do one last one each side. Reaching that arm over. Lengthening through. Carrying back up. And then reaching the opposite arm over again. Good. And then reach back up. Lovely. And then back to that start. Okay, so we're just going to stretch through our necks now. So I want you just to turn your head round to the right side, just lengthening through that opposite side of the neck. And then bring that head back to the center. And again, turning to the opposite side, rotating through that neck. And then back to that center. Good. And again, each side. So rotating to that right again. Then back to the center. Good. And then round to the left. And then back to the center. Very good. Now this time we're going to rotate round to the right. And I just want you to drop that chin down now. And just feel that stretch increase on that opposite side of the neck. Breathe in and out here. Relax down into those shoulders. And then just lifting that head back up again and bring it back to the center. Good. We'll do the same on the opposite side. So turning to that left. As you breathe out, just drop that chin down, feeling that stretch increase on that opposite side of the neck. As you're breathing out, just let those shoulders drop down. And then again, just lift that chin back up and bring that head back to that center and just rolling those shoulders from there. Very good. Okay, so we're going to stretch out our bottoms in sitting today. So we're going to just bring one leg in front and the opposite leg over, okay? And then we're just from here going to stretch around and rotate from here, just so you can feel that stretch into that bottom. So we're rotating around, feeling that stretch into that bottom, and then holding this here. So we're just going to breathe in and out as we're holding this stretch and rotating into there. Well done. Good, just feeling through that stretch into your bottom. Holding that here, breath in and out. On the out breath, if you can, you might be able to just pull in that stretch a little bit further, if you can. Good. One more breath in and out here. And then we're going to release that leg. Very good. And we do the same on the opposite side. Opposite leg over. From here, we're just going to come round and rotate our upper body just where you feel that stretch through into that bottom muscle. Good, so breathing in and out into this stretch. On the out breath, you might be able to just stretch into it a little bit further if you can. Just rotating around here, breathing in and out. On the out breath, just sinking round into that stretch if you can from here. Good. Breathing in and out. Sinking down into that stretch on the out breath if you can. One more breath in and out here. And then relaxing from that stretch. Very good. Just bring those legs back in. Then we're going to just clasp our hands together. We're going to turn those fingers away. Reach those hands up to shoulder height. Drop our chin down to our chest. Then we're going to look up to those hands, reach hands and head together up to the ceiling, open those hands nice and wide and come back round. Good, and again. Hands clasped, reach those fingers away, tuck that chin down, bring the hands to shoulder height, look up to those hands, bring the hands and head up to the ceiling together, open those hands apart, reaching away. Good, and again. Hands clasped, reach away, hands up to shoulder height, drop that chin down to your chest. Look up to those hands, then follow both together up to the ceiling. Open those hands apart, coming round, back to that start. One last time, fingers around. Bring those hands up to shoulder height, drop that chin down to your chest. Look up to those hands, reaching up, and then open those hands away, and coming back to that start, and relaxing those shoulders. Fantastic, thanks for joining us for the class today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, if you've got any comments or feedback, you can just use our comment section below the video. Otherwise, we hope to see you next time.